My name's Morgan Rosaduke. I've been working in the Barrhead district now for 2 years. Previous to that, I spent 3 years in Edmonton district, and when I had the opportunity to transfer out to a more rural community, I took the opportunity. Our first mandate is public safety, so that always takes first priority. That can come in a variety of different ways. One of the biggest ways we probably deal with that is through problem wildlife. That's seasonal based, obviously, with certain animals being more active at certain times of the year. But for instance, we had a bear in Barrhead this year that we had to dart out of a tree because he was getting into trouble there, and we took him out and we relocated him to a better area that's better suited for him. Besides that, we obviously do our enforcement roles in terms of our traffic and safety, our Wildlife Act, and our Alberta Fisheries regulations. So we are patrolling for people who are recreating in the outdoors, on the lakes and on the landscape. So in the Barrhead district here, we go south to the Yellowhead Highway. We cover Lac La Nonne Lake, and then we go west to Mayerthorpe, north up to Swan Hills and some of the Crownland area up there, and then west we go all the way over to Clyde. The best rule of thumb is just always take out what you take in. It can be anything small, from your cigarette butts to your your tubs of minnows that you're taking out with you. You should be leaving it cleaner than when you got there. If we all can join together in terms of that, we can make our lakes a lot cleaner, and we can have that more respect for the water body itself. So that's one of the free fishing weekends we have in Alberta. So if you're an Alberta resident, you don't have to worry about purchasing a fishing license for that weekend if you choose to go out. It's a great opportunity for folks who don't have much experience in the sport to go out and try it before they decide to invest money into it. It's important on that weekend that even though if you don't have a license, you still do have to abide by all the rules set in place for fishing in terms of lengths, quotas that you can take out, as well as all your general safety stuff. We have our Barrhead office, in which case we have our two administrative assistants that help us out there. They can phone that if they're looking for any education. The next best is if there's any violations in progress, to phone our Report a Poacher line, which is 1-800-642-3800. That gets connected automatically to an officer who is nearest to the area that they're phoning from, and they can hopefully help them out and get out there and deal with whatever they're finding. So this year, it was introduced some of our general fishing shack regulations for the water bodies. If you choose to take a structure onto the ice, such as what you can see probably on Lac La Nonne here, is if you have a permanent structure and you're choosing to leave it for more than 24 hours, you have to have your WIN name listed on the side of the building itself in a contrasting color to what the shack is. So say you have a white shack, your writing would have to be black, and vice versa. It's important just for safety issues on the ice, if we can contact the shack owner if we were to find it somewhere else, as well as having it obviously labeled for other folks' use too. I always recommend. I obviously came from an outdoors perspective when I was growing up, so I was fortunate enough to have people who would be willing to take me out, and I never really had to ask for it. Now I know a lot of people don't always have that opportunity who do want to try, and I wouldn't just be scared to go out and reach out to people who do have experience in it. A lot of people I know can be scared to try new things, and especially if they don't want to put money into it, and then they're also scared of not being successful at it. But put yourself out there, ask some of the locals around the area, or even find a mentor to take you out and teach you the tips of how to do stuff. I would definitely recommend that for any new time fishermen. Identification, some of it you can read in our regulations. All the fish that are in Alberta are listed. You can find general descriptions for the fish themselves. So I would recommend either picking up a physical copy or looking at the fishing regulations online and making sure you know what the fish is when you catch it. In a case where you don't know, it's always good to just put the fish back. If you're willing to take a fish that you don't know what it is, then you have to be willing to accept the consequences for doing that. With fish measuring, the best recommendation is to look in the regulations for that as well. It goes into pretty great detail of how a fish is supposed to be measured. That's obviously with a tape measure or a measuring device that is accurate, while having the nose or the tail at one portion and having the tail pinched closed together, and that's how you get the total fish measurement. You should at all times be worried about making sure that fish is laying flat, so there's no curves or anything in it, or anything to make it either look smaller or bigger than what it actually is. So you have to, when transporting your catch, making sure that the fish can be measured if you're ever checked by a fish and wildlife officer. So you have to maintain species and size on the fish at all times to make sure that from whatever water body you caught the fish at, that we as officers can identify what the species of the fish is and also what the length was if it is in a lake that needs to be measured. The best way to do that is probably just to leave it whole. You can take the guts out if need be, but everything else you should probably just leave the fish whole until you take it to your place of processing. Our reporter poacher line is, like I said, a 24-hour hotline that people can phone for violations that are happening. The best for those situations are to get as much detail as possible while keeping yourself safe. License plates, descriptions of people, descriptions of what they're driving. That all helps us in the long run. We have few officers for the entire province, so we might not always be able to get there very quickly, but we'll always do our best to get out there as fast as we can. So in terms of that, we need as much public help as we can just to cover the amount of area we're required to cover. If you're in a situation, obviously keeping yourself safe, but if you give us good information in which we can follow through with the prosecution, there are monetary values that can be distributed to you after the successful prosecution, and you can make some decent money by phoning in violations that are happening. It's better off, if you don't know yourself, it's always better off to phone it in regardless. We can make that decision when it comes to it, but it's always good for us to keep tabs. I always tell people I'd much rather answer a call from a reporter poacher line or on my cell phone than have to deal with it in court. So I'd rather have people phone it in, and then we can discuss that when the time comes. Another one is also carrying your fishing license on you. Most people, they think once they buy it that they're good to go. You do have to carry a physical copy with you at all times when you are fishing in Alberta. So whether that's a physical paper copy that they provide you with at the store or that you print off the website, or an electronic copy which you can access through the Alberta Realm app.
Okay, so almost red. We're just below the black here.
Secret tips, go.
Okay, secret tips. You bottom the hook out, and then you give it 2 full cranks, and then you bob.
So I'm gonna go, good afternoon, ma'am. Alberta Fish and Wildlife. We're just here doing some fisheries compliance checks today. I see you're fishing. I was just wondering if you had your Alberta fishing license on.
Yeah, for sure. I have the app, if that
Perfect.
works.
You betcha. Let me take a peek at that. Thank you. So Adriana?
Yep.
Perfect. So Adriana, what I'm doing here is I'm just scanning your license on my phone. I'm just making sure that everything is good with your license and that there aren't any suspensions or anything else associated to your fishing license.
Okay.
Perfect. Looks good. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Have a good rest of your day.
You too.
What's your favorite thing about your job?
I've always been a bit of an outdoor nut. You can find me in my spare time doing outdoor activities. So I obviously like dealing with the people who are doing that too and getting first-hand information. I also come from a farming background, so with our role that we have in terms of dealing with landowners and producers, I always enjoy getting out there and having first-hand experience. Probably one of my favorite ones, maybe not necessarily the craziest one, was we had a call actually about an orphan black bear cub. That he was only probably about 20 to 30 pounds, and you kind of go into a situation like that thinking, well, baby animals are baby animals. I'm a grown man. I can probably handle myself. The regional problem wildlife specialist who I went with kept educating me the whole time about how I do need to be careful with these things because they do carry a lot of strength. I didn't quite realize that until I grabbed the cub, and you realize how easy it is for a 20-pound black bear cub to outmuscle a person. Before that, he was kind of crawling on my arms and stuff, and they do have pretty sharp teeth and claws, so it was a good humbling experience for me to have that experience, and now I know how to respect the strengths of wildlife.